said it last week. He's in a great space.
Yes.
Like, nobody expects us to win.
He's on a
If we lose, nobody's killing me. I mean, obviously, if his numbers are horrific, but if he plays his game and they lose, nobody's going to kill him. You are playing with complete house money. But inside, in that locker room, I bet they feel like we can win this thing. Like, we can beat not just this series, I'm talking about the West and really the whole league. But I bet that team is as confident as any. I know Anthony Edwards. So, he's confident. So, it's a great place for them. But what's the question? You know the question. I know it, but it does my answer. Give me the question.
He wants to be set up.
Yes, I want to be set up.
Can Minnesota win the series with this version of Anthony Edwards?
With this version? No. They can win it with this version.
Yes.
And I think, okay, I thought you were going to go the other way because it wasn't like he was passive. It wasn't like he said, oh, they're doubling me. When I drive, they're collapsing on me. Let me just get rid of the ball. He was aggressive. He took 22 shots. That's as much as anybody. He and Luka both led with 22 attempts. Now, I don't think they can win it, Nick, with him shooting 36%, which is what he shot, 8 for 22. But I don't think he'll shoot 36%. But if him playing this way, where he's aggressively trying to get his, but also willingly finding his shooters, and obviously defensively he's a pest, like, yeah, they can win with Ant playing this game. Now, is McDaniels going to shoot that way or Julius Randle going to shoot that way from three? That's another question. But, yes, they can win it with Anthony Edwards playing this.
So not only do I agree with that, I take a step further. They will win if Ant plays this way. Anthony Edwards' high assists, Timberwolves are a great team. So Anthony Edwards had 9 assists in this game. This year, they are now 7-0 when he has 8 or more assists. 2 years ago in the regular season, they were 6-0 when he had 8 or more assists. Last year, they were 9-3 when he had 8 or more assists, and the 3 losses were because the defense didn't show up. They averaged 116 points. When he is distributing and guys are cashing in on those opportunities, this team hums offensively, which is why I just think the Lakers can't let them. And it's also why I read just during one of the commercial breaks, JJ had a press availability, and he basically said he didn't think schematically it wasn't the scheme as to why the Timberwolves killed him from 3, which seemed, again, I'm just reading a quote from a reporter on Twitter. Basically, what it seemed like he was saying is, scheme was sound, we didn't execute it properly. Maybe not. Maybe they didn't rotate right, all those things. But the scheme still clearly was, we are not going to let Anthony Edwards kill us. We are going to help off shooters, and I hate that idea.
But see, that's been his scheme since he kind of, they got Luka and did have, even before they got Luka, when they still, AD was hurt, but that was their scheme, like packing them. You're not giving up. We're not saying they're willingly giving up threes, but it's like we're not letting them kill us inside, and we're going to contest the threes as best we can. I do think, do you tweak that? He clearly isn't going to, or at least he's saying he's not going to, but do you just stay on the shooters and see, are they going to try to expose you at the rim that much? Because a lot of teams aren't used to going to the basket all the time. Now, Ant can go, but he's still going to take his 7 to 10 or 11 threes, too.
Okay, let's talk about this. Now, there's a few things that I really want to talk about here. Because, first, let's just address Ant. What I loved about how Ant was playing is he was so balanced because he was aggressive, but not in a desperate way. Sometimes you could be aggressive, you could be overly aggressive, you could be desperate, not trying to take shots at anyone, but think of, Russell Westbrook and whatnot. And he wasn't like that. He was still very much the focal point, the leader, the aggressor, the intensity, but it was grounded. It was grounded. He complained a little bit too much of the refs at a few times. Nothing like too extreme, but there was a couple moments when I'm just like, all right, you didn't get the call, get back. Like, that's some of the maturity that I'm still looking for. And I do think that at times, Ant is still susceptible to too many emotional swings that you don't want to see at this point, because you can win this series. You've proven. You just took game 1. So if you let cooler heads prevail, if you stay focused, if you stay grounded, and if you use that anger to actually ground you rather than kind of make you kind of, go off the deep end, like, you absolutely can take the series against the Los Angeles Lakers. So it's like, just be smart, continue to be aggressive, but still play within the game itself. And so it wasn't even so much that he had these assists. Like, obviously, again, assists get you involved in all that, but he was able to be aggressive. But the moments that he was being aggressive, it was when the game called for it. It was when the game needed it. And when it was time for other players to have their success, to have their moments, like Naz Reid and McDaniels, they were able to do it. But what I take issue is, because people are like, oh, who's expecting Naz Reid? And there's so many times that I wanted to keep saying Najee Harris, because doing a lot of football videos, and so I keep thinking I'm going to keep saying other people's names wrong, or Jaden Daniels instead. But people keep forgetting, though. So if I do say that, I make a lot of football videos on my football channel, so you'll have to, give me some grace here. But with people forget how much, especially Naz Reid and McDaniels, how much they stepped up in the playoffs last year, and especially against the Nuggets. It's a shame, because these box scores don't 100% show that, but you can see how much they stepped up when it mattered most, in terms of some of the threes that were taken, some of the points. Like let's look at McDaniels here. Closeout game 7, Western Finals, McDaniels, 7 for 10, 3 for 4, 23 points. Okay? That's what he did. Naz Reid, 4 for 7, 11 points. Just a high percentage game in that regard. Obviously not earth-shattering with like 30 points or anything, but when he had the shot, he got it down. And that's just one of these examples. There's many, and I'm not gonna just go back too far in time, but I always take issue when we kind of just be like, well, I don't know, can we really expect, some of these other players to really do this? And it's like, yes, that's their role. They need to step up in these moments. If you don't expect them to be able to step up, can they step up every single game? No. If they could, then they would be superstars. Then they would be on the level of Ant, and they're not. But the sheer fact is that you need these players to do this throughout the playoffs. Can you rely on it every single game from here to the championship? No, you can't. Like I said, if you could, then their names would be LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. So I always kind of take issue when you have that. Now, it's okay. If you had one of these players down here, right, you had someone who just barely ever plays and goes off for like 30, then I could understand. Then I could be like, oh my God, they just got Josh Watson from, off the bench, who's played a total of 4 minutes throughout the entire season, and he made 5 threes, then I could understand. And like, that's pretty much never happens. Occasionally a random team will do that, usually because of some sort of, decimation of injuries. But when you're talking about like actual key role players, this is what you're expecting them to do. This is what you need your team to do. And the Minnesota Timberwolves have clearly shown that they've created a culture of being able to do so, of empowering these players. It's very clear that these players also understand what they need to do to get the job done in the playoffs. That much is very clear. And I feel as though that Ant has really fit into that structure better than he has significantly in the past. It's a deeper understanding. Even someone like a Randall understanding what his role is for this team. I talk about this so much. It's so important. It's kind of perfect that in basketball we say like role players. But you do need to understand your role on a basketball team deeply. Deeply, deeply, deeply. Someone who comes off the bench and is playing for 3 minutes, and I know this was at the end of the game and stuff, But throughout the season, when you have some of these players that are playing like random minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that, like they need to deeply understand their role. And it's just, it's a kind of like an ebb and flow type of thing. And to me, it feels like Ant has understood that flow better now, because again, it comes with experience, it comes with maturity, it comes with just a deeper understanding of how the game is played and the role of some of these other players. Because when you're a younger player like Ant is, and obviously he's getting older by the day, but when you're some of these younger guys, especially in basketball, when you're dominating, when you're playing 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, even some years in college, like it's less about that actually, because the focal point really is 100% on like one or two of these players. Like that's so much what it comes down to. It is not like that in the NBA. It is not like that in the NBA. You need the Nas Reeds of the NBA to go off and go 6 for 9 in a playoff game to win. I mean, just every single basketball dynasty, the teams that consistently have won have had that. Let alone the random teams that just kind of win one off. You always need a collection of these players to go off. And everyone, and the way how they really do that is when they understand their role, when they feel empowered, and when they know when it's time to have someone like Ant to kind of give it up. And the problem is that when you're a little bit younger, when you have the Nas Reeds of the NBA kind of going off and putting up some buckets, sometimes then like an Anthony Edwards and can kind of, I don't want to say get dejected, because dejected would mean that he's kind of like upset this is happening. It's not that he's upset with it, but he just doesn't know how to like fit into it. And I've been there before, when you're kind of like the alpha, the star of the team, the leader of the team, but then you have a couple other players that are kind of going off. You're kind of just like, where do I fit in this game? You're trying to figure out, how do I fit into this game? Do I just keep feeding the hot hand? Do I try to get my buckets? Like, what do I do? Like, you're just unsure. It's just unclear. And again, it just comes with immaturity. Maybe not great coaching at the time. So it just takes a second. And I just feel as though Anthony Edwards is getting settled into that, which is, again, it's more than just the assists themselves. That obviously helps out, but it's to me it's a little bit more than that. Not to mention, obviously, Ant left for a little bit, which is funny because it actually didn't really necessarily hurt his minutes, but like he was gone for a decent stretch, and then that's when the Lakers were able to kind of go on a pretty decent run. But then as soon as he got back out there, you can just feel the energy change, because there is an unsettling feeling when someone like Ant is not on the court. But I've seen a lot of maturity from his gameplay itself. I'd like to see a little bit more maturity from like the other aspects, but because I do think sometimes he gets a little bit too confident, and it's just because even in that interview he's like, we're not even supposed to be here, and it was done in a way of like, yeah, you all picked the Lakers, so keep picking the Lakers. And, it was essentially like that type of energy, and it's like, it's just game one, man. It's just game one. It's just game one. You gotta stay focused. It's like Kobe Bryant mentality is like, what is there even talk about right now? Did I win? Is the job done? It's not. Like, what are we even talking about here? And you could see that someone like an Ant is still kind of like riding those waves. And I'm not knocking him, but it's just like, to really get to that next level, you kind of have to just be like impenetrable. You kind of just have to be like, yeah. When they said, oh, what do you say to the people that are picked the Lakers? Did I say the Rams? Hopefully I didn't say the Rams, but because I am in football mind. But if who picked the Lakers, you would just, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't think about it. I don't really pay attention to who other people are picking. I'm focusing on my team right now. Are people picking the Lakers? Like, I don't know. I'm not paying attention. Like that's the answer. I think as soon as Ant really unlocks that level of maturity, that's when he truly, truly, truly can take over the NBA. But like I said, his on the court game is undeniably maturing, and this is a perfect example of this game. It was not like a flawless game on his part. He obviously wasn't, he didn't have like the most highest percentage shooting of his career, far from it, but he was still able to have everyone else involved. He was able to do a lot of the dirty work. He was engaged, he was aggressive, he was assertive, never desperate, never too much. It was just a really, really great balanced game. That you saw him slowly start to get that a little bit last season, but in the years before, you could just see it just wasn't quite there yet. And I just remember watching Ant play, and you're just like, this guy is obviously going to be special, but he's just young. You're like, it's just not all there yet. And I think playing with LeBron, playing with Steph, KD, the Olympics, like I think a lot of that really helps kind of that, because he saw when he was on the Olympics, and I've referenced this a lot now in a lot of Warriors and Lakers videos. He was out of place. He was not his game was not mature enough relative to those other players. And it's why Steve Kerr kind of had to kind of yank him a little bit. Obviously, he's so athletic and he's such a great player, but you could just see the depth of experience and calmness to the game that KD, Steph, and LeBron had in the Olympics. And that's what they needed to win the gold. And so when Ant can finally tap into that more, it's just a wrap, man. It's just surrounded by good enough talent, and it's just like, to me, it's the next, he's the closest we have, honestly, to the next not LeBron, the next Kobe, actually. I'm not saying that their games are exactly, but just that level of intensity. But Kobe was always wildly mature. So we can just get a little bit more maturity, and hopefully it comes throughout this series. Hopefully it comes throughout this playoff run, because that's when it happens. So he does that, you can rock the NBA. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Minnesota Timberwolves? Can they win the series with this version of Ant? Kind of a weird question when they obviously just dominated game one. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.